from St. Augustine, Florida, right down the coast. Mr. Clyde Walker, Mr. Sam Pacetti. Nice walk.
Well, welcome to the guitar workshop, and presumably we know how to play the guitar. That's what we've been told, and that remains to be seen. But if anybody has any questions, shoot them up at us, and we will attempt to talk about it.
Oh, that guitar sounds great, Sam. Can you make mine sound like this?
Tailors, I don't recommend them. I hope there's no Taylor reps out here. I had a guitar recently that met with tragedy, and so I ended up getting another Taylor. Anyway, that has nothing to do with what we're doing here, but take a little something.
Turned out the first song was this. I know it's even good. Tom, does that sound about like we want it to sound there, like I normally do, or not? It's okay. I'll just play it. If you hear something that needs to be tweaked, I'm sure the other sound guy does too, but.
wrong side of the tracks for sure. Come from the Chet Atkins kind of Merle Travis school of guitar playing. Merle Travis, who preceded Chet, was the guy who played with basically just a thumb pick and a first finger, and it was a really interesting technique that he got from watching fellas like Ike Everly and Mose Rager, who were both wonderful guitar players in their own right. And what does that mean? I'm sharp. This is the technology is beyond me. Okay, I'll just run with that. Thank you. And
So anyway, to pick up where he left off there, the thumb and finger thing, Merle Travis played a lot of his career, I believe, with just two fingers. And talking about your finger, your index finger being one finger and your thumb being one finger. And I remember Marcel Dadi, excuse me, when he was still alive, talking about it was amazing to him how Merle Travis could have pulled off some of the things that he did back in the 40s, like when he was playing things like Walking the Strings. And I've seen some of the old videos, I'm sure some of you folks have too, but I've seen some of the old videos, and I'm quite amazed at how he would roll, actually not roll, but he would just travel down through with his thumb pick and then come back up to make rolls. And it's hard to duplicate it because I've never learned how to do it, but I watch on those videos and I think to myself, man, how could you get that smooth? And there's no excuses that we can use for modern day because he had a Martin with a Bigsby neck on it, acoustic guitar. You know, I always used to think, well, hell, they were playing on archtop electrics back then, and the response off the neck was so much different and all that. But he was doing the business. He was carrying home the mail, doing it that way. Later on, then I noticed in some of the later things that he did that these two fingers would be going when it was necessary, stuff like Blue Smoke and some of the different tunes that he recorded. So, but he's definitely, to stick with what Sam was saying there, definitely one of my strongest inspirations. And the other guy for teaching that I can't leave out is Marcel Dadi.
a wonderful guitar player.
And Sam here have been real good influences on my whole playing ability.
And let me see, try and pick up something Merle did here. Where's Tom Ellis?
Right here.
Well, you were right. I shouldn't have changed strings before I came up here. More for my comfort than yours.
Pardon me?
You give me a little bit
Okay.
more signal in the house out there per the, that was an audience member. that
Second
requested
row, we
that.
got, yeah.
Should
that's
clarify
good.
that.
Yeah, it is good.
And you could drop my monitor just a little bit.
I think mine too, about the same amount, because we're pretty,
A little bit more there, yeah. Yeah, cool, thank you.
mine could come down too now. I'm a copycat. I steal licks and ideas from everybody I can.
And then, yeah,
A little bit more.
that brings up an important fact. I had been hanging out with a guy in Jacksonville who's just a wonderful, wonderful guitar player named Danny Taylor, and been stealing a bunch of licks from him. And you know, I said to him one day, I said, God, you know, I feel so guilty because all I do is emulate other guitar players. And he turned to me and he said, well, hell, if it wasn't for thievery, there'd be no good guitar players. And which is a good point, you know, is that you take techniques and conceits and motifs from different people and you integrate all that and you make it your own. I saw just a while back, and I'll shut up, this great band that played in St. Augustine. I won't say any names, but they were a bluegrass band and they were wonderful. All of them technically extremely proficient, and the guitar player for these guys was just one of the hottest guitar players that I had ever seen. But all he did was play Tony Rice licks, which totally took every bit of the credence of what he did away, you know. And if you're just going to sit and play like the Django licks or Tony's licks, you know, then man, play your own licks because it's in there.
And I want to always say that thumbprint, that's like what we have as our own thumbprint. And you're right. To me, it's like it's almost like going and buying tools when you learn things on the guitar. You learn new licks or new pieces. It's almost like going and buying tools and sticking them into a toolbox, and your toolbox gets fuller and fuller, and you don't necessarily use all those tools all the time, but at least they're yours. They're your compilation. It's your pile of toolbox, you know.
Your bag of tricks.
Yeah. So, and you know what's amazing to me, I'd like to share just a little bit. I bought a new guitar a couple months ago, this one here, and I really started barreling hard back into music, and not because of a must as much as a want. And I guess the thing to say, or that I'm trying to say, is whatever it takes to inspire yourself to play the guitar or to be creative and do your own thing. That's what you need to do. Life is much too short to do it for any other reason other than you want to develop and you want to share something with someone else. But in the process of doing that, excuse me, frog.
Swallow that tarantula there.
Just about. In the process of doing that, after buying a guitar and getting inspired again, it's so strange to me, and it always is amazing to me that what I thought was just going through and getting myself back into like some timing between left and right hand and that by doing scales again. I didn't realize, even at my age, I didn't realize that how much impact that has on all the other tunes that you play. When you try to pull something off, a quick little pull off or a quick little thing that you're doing, the timing is much better, everything is much better. And all I can say as far as something to take out of here with you today, and I believe that of workshops, you should always take something with you. But pick a scale. It doesn't matter what kind. If it's alternating, if you're a thumb, I would imagine most of you folks are thumb style players. But pick a scale, and if nothing else, alternate between these two fingers, like I didn't do it right, but just do that, just drill, and you'll be surprised. Another one I use 3 fingers for lately is an old Chet Atkins thing.
He's doing that, going thumb first, second, thumb second, first.
Right.
Going like that, kind of like a banjo roll.
And what you
Thumb
do,
2-1, thumb 2-1.
right, what I do with that exercise is I go just fret by fret, right up to the 12th fret, and then come back down and do that, and just and keep doing it. Amazingly, I challenge myself, it seems like, to make it up and down the neck without missing any of the notes of the scale. So you'll get to the point that you'll do things just when you're by yourself in your own bedroom or wherever you practice. But believe me, it really does seem to tighten up all the other things. That and slow stuff down. The more you play, the more you want to speed up. And I think Sam was always a real good teacher to me in that. I'd sit down across from him and I'd say, I've been working on this tune, and real fast try to do something. He'd say, slow it down. I'd slow it down. And he'd say, slow it down again, and I'd slow it down again. So pretty soon you're down like... But you have to hit every note that way, and you have to play every note. And that's the only thing that's going to print the right thing in your head. Now, everything else that comes in there after the fact is stuff we can't explain. I lost my monitors up here now. There it is. Thanks. Going on mentally here. think the word for it is ego. You said you practice, you get a song at a 10, and you kind of hope for about a 7 or an 8 when you get out in front of people. And sometimes you get about a 5, and you're just really not wanting to be satisfied at 5.
Don't overthink it. An important thing for guitar players, don't overthink what you're doing. Clyde touched on some interesting points that I think should be discussed for guitar players. Practicing, proper practicing, what does that mean? Because for years as a guitar player, I didn't know what I was doing when I was practicing, and my practice times were inevitably not as fulfilling or beneficial to me as they could have been, because I wasn't taking into account things like posture when you play. What type of chair are you sitting in? Recently I just bought a really comfortable office chair, the one with the kind of, that has the floating mechanism that you feel like you're in the space shuttle seat or something, and where you can lean back and be in a really comfortable, relaxed position where you don't have any tension in your upper body, your neck, your shoulders, your hands. And this is critical as a guitar player, because if you're tense, it's going to come through your acts. You're going to play tense, and you'll choke more, and you won't be able to do what you might be able to do, like what you can do when you're in the confines of your home. You're sitting there in your living room. It never sounds quite as good on stage as it does in your living room, and there's certainly reasons for that. But and then you got to create your practice time where you can sit down and get into it. Whatever it is, you got to, as you're taking out of your creative well, you've got to put some stuff back in there to take out from again. So if it's listening to guitar players that you really dig, and I had kind of for a while given up guitar and had walked away from music, and found that the further away I walked from music, the more chaotic and unintelligible my life became. And,
that's true.
And so I decided I should probably play the guitar again. And luckily, I'd always been lucky to bump into these people. I know I'm talking a lot, but I drank a lot of coffee this morning. But I was lucky enough that I lived this mythologium that when the student is ready, the master will come. And I've experienced this a few times with great, wonderful guitar players. And recently, it's taken the form of this fellow from Jacksonville named Danny Taylor. And he's just wonderful. He's one of these guys that, the term woodshedding comes from Wes Montgomery. Wes Montgomery, one of the most brilliant jazz guitarists that ever lived. And he didn't start to play the guitar until he was right at about 30 years old. And he, before that, was a mediocre guitar player. At best, just a parlor guitar player. Well, he locked himself in a room for around about 12 years, and when he came out, he was a Saurian master. I mean, he was just unbelievable. And Danny's one of these guys who's just can play probably 2,000 standards in 5 or 6 different keys right off the match, and can transpose while he's doing it. He has spontaneous creation, which is to say, if his ear hears it, it comes immediately out into his hand and can be pulled off on the guitar. And that, to me, is just amazing. And so I get together with him, and we'll take old tunes and take them apart, like something like. And he'll say, yeah, well, that's good, but why play it like that when you go? And I'm like, oh, I see. And he loves to play an E flat. And one day we were sitting around the house, and it's funny, he'll call me. He's on the way to St. Augustine. He'll be, I was playing an E flat again, Sammy, and I chipped my teeth, and I'm on the way to the dentist. Why don't you meet me over there, and we'll sit down and pick for a little bit. And because when he plays an E flat, he gets really excited. He starts grinding his teeth, and so he chips his false teeth. And so we spend a lot of time playing in the dentist office while this guy's fixing his teeth. It's really surreal. But one day he was playing this tune, and I thought, my God, what is that? And it was just so pretty. I just started to cry, and I said, my God, what is that? And he said, that's Moonlight in Vermont. And so I was playing it out at E flat, and then one day he called me. He said, Sammy, stop in E flat. He said, let's play it in C. And that's also something for you guys to explore. If you're arranging a tune, arrange it in the right place. So I will probably choke on this, and I realize these days that that's okay. And but this is my version of Moonlight in Vermont.
Since you're in it, I went to dead ear tuning, but do you want to explain a little bit the artificial harmonics? Show of hands, are all of you, how many people aren't familiar with how one of those artificial harmonics or chime is made? We got a few out there, good.
It's an interesting little technique that a guy named Lenny Bro came up with first, and then Chet, who was really good about stealing other people's arrangements. He saw that and he said, "Oh, Lenny, show me how to do that." And basically what you do is you take a diminished chord, or what would this be? That would be like
Like a C7 out of 9.
yeah, something like that. And so what you're doing is you've got 2, 2, and then 2 with the thumb. Or you can do it more like this, where this is a little trickier, where you're grabbing it with the second finger, holding 2 strings. But the idea of the artificial harmonic is to find that chord here in the harmonic, right? So there you've got your harmonics at the 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th fret. And what I use my pinky to do it, so what you're doing is you're rolling, plucking the natural string, and then fretting the harmonic. There's some videos that you can get that explain that really well. I think Stefan Grossman's workshop has definitely some.
Yeah. And you, for practicing too, you can move down to the nut and only do just that right there, so you can kind of forget about this hand through the process of learning that, because I guarantee you this hand, the muscles in this hand, if you've never done that kind of stuff, will be fatigued. So better to have one hand wore out than both hands wore out. So. Thanks. That's good. all I did was a volume change here, so I didn't change anything on the tone. I still seem to be loud in these monitors for some reason, where I don't. That might be making me a little timid on hitting it. Is it possible to back that off some? Boy, we'll have to go with that. Yeah, it must be a real fine line in between it, but that'll work right there. Actually, if you can bring that back, what I just had, that'd be better. Perfect. This is in a DADGAD tuning, which is D-A-D-G-A-D, and I'm sure a lot of folks are familiar with that. But it offers a whole host of different things because you've got open strings to work with. Make chords with only 1 finger, 2 finger, and 3 finger things, and catch harmonics where you normally couldn't catch them, where you'd have to do artificial harmonics in a standard tuning. So I've had folks say that I can do anything that, in a standard tuning that you can do in an alternate tuning, and you might be able to pull it off, but I don't know that it would have quite the impact or quite the feel and emotion, because you'd be struggling so hard to try to make things happen because of stretches or what have you. So
Totally, there's some really nice things that happen, of course,
Right.
in alter tunings, which I think is what people like to use, because it just creates a much more open sound, and there's a lot more room there for improvisation, and in open tunings you can just kind of play around and find some great stuff that in standard tuning you'll have to use closed chords to figure out, and some of those are real
Right.
grabbers.
yeah, by the time you reach for it, it's like, for heaven's sakes. The name of this is Painted Sky. I guess it's some new material that I'm going to be working toward in the next year or so.
Cool. There's a couple things I wanted to talk about for. Is that anyone in the house up there? It's good. It's good. Hey guys, it's good.
Okay.
It's good, he says.
Why so slow?
That are important. I've seen some guys out there before we started, and maybe this could be of use to you. I came from the classical background, and there's a whole slew of practices for the right hand in classical guitar that are really beneficial to any style of guitar that you're going to do. And maybe foremost in all of those is the right hand arpeggio, which is to say a grouping of 3 strings together. 1, 2, 3. And I'm thinking of studies by Carulli or Giuliani, one of those 2 guys. They had these studies in C, and the whole study, there's like, maybe 20 of them, and the first one was like this. But that for the right hand is a really essential thing, because these are like your meat. These are your meat and potatoes fingers here. This one is a little extra added flavor. Although there are some guys out there that can use this finger like it's their first finger, and those guys, I don't like those guys. But when you go to the Chet Atkins convention, I promise you, you will see. I mean, you think we play guitar? Jesus, you'll see guys there that this defy. They're not actually from this planet, and that gives me great hope, because I just know that if you crack their head wide open, you'd see a little green guy in there. Anyway, but that's an important thing, and you can come up with your own practices and studies for your right hand to develop fluidity and feel and attack, and you want a suppleness of attack. Well, I can't say that. I mean, because one thing I learned about taking guitar from different teachers, that certain guys are going to tell you this is the right way to do it. You should do it this way, and it's not always the case. I mean, a lot of times what you develop for you, if it works for you, it works for you, and that's fine. So stick with it. And there are certainly some things that you could do technique-wise that aren't good for you, that could develop bad posture and things that would impede your hand, your left hand primarily. One thing you want to focus on is that you don't want your hand out like this, and you don't want your wrist up like this with your thumb over here. You don't want your shoulder hiked up. You want it just relaxed, and you want a straight wrist basically right on the guitar. And if you're running scales, you want your thumb right about there in the back. It's the best, because there's a certain place and you can feel around. If you play with it, you'll feel it. But it just feels right. It feels like it makes sense, and your fingers don't seem to wear out. And I know I'm talking too long now because I see people now.
I think it's a real deal.
Okay. So I'm going to play something here, and kind Mr. Soundman, would you just drop that monitor for me a little, my guitar monitor? Maybe drop it a little more for me. Okay, cool. Let's see here. piece like this not to think too much. Just stay where you're at, you know. Stay in the now. What not to do when playing guitar.
Don't talk, right?
Don't think, don't choke.
What time did somebody say this is over with? Because I want to make sure that we get, I'm in the right tune.
140.
Pardon me?
140.
140? Okay, great. God, I can't believe I didn't pay attention to that. Actually, I was going to do that tune, Sam. That's why I had to. No.
I should probably take this minute to mention that Clyde's got several CDs, several wonderful CDs, and after a long time of having nothing, I've got a new CD, a new live thing for any of you that
Very, very good CD,
that
too.
might have my previous thing. I've got some of those over here.
Live at the Milltop, and it really is a good thumbprint of Monday evenings at the Milltop with Sam. And if for you folks that may be from around Jacksonville area, I know my wife and I go there quite often to the Milltop on Monday night, just kind of like hook up with everybody on a weekly basis or every couple of weeks. So it's, yeah. And Sammy gets over there and just plays great music for all of us while we're all there. So.
Inevitably, I play better there than any place else because I feel the most comfortable.
Real comfortable.
Oops. You can create that where, you know, just create some level of comfort while you're playing. That's a
I didn't quite make it.
tough to do, difficult to approximate, but really good if you can pull it off. Some people use beta blockers. Take heart medication, you know, just kind of lower your blood pressure a little bit. And,
You know, I'm going to do it. I'm changing paths here, so just bear with me.
okay. And careful to change paths too many times. Once you find a path, stick with it because you know opportunities beckon, man. And there's all these. You're like, well, look at this and look at this. And you could go over here and just put your nose down on the road and do it. You know, get in there and play as much as you can. Play every day and create a little quiet place where you can, you know, no distractions from telephone. It's difficult to do these days. I mean, there's so much.
Well, that, and if you can find a place to play out, too. I think playing out in front of people is probably equivalent to about a month or 2 months worth of practicing hard at home. And I really haven't found a weekly home yet in St. Augustine where I would just go and play like one night a week. So, but they're out there, and you make your own venues. I think a lot of folks would attest to that. still getting over the hump with them, and I think it's probably about the third time I played that in front of people. And it seems to me like when the song moves, you're really good. And the weird part is, I've been playing that song for, oh man, I've been playing that song for probably 6 years. And just never really get to the point of wanting to be comfortable, and I've come to a conclusion at my age again that it's just not going to happen unless you just push it out there.
Where are we at time-wise?
I have a watch.
Got 5 minutes?
Do you want to do a tune together?
I'll do one more and let you do one more short, and maybe we can pick something together. I'll just do this real quick. Little Travis thing. Is it loud? Well, roll on, buddy, and don't you roll so slow. Tell me how can I pull when the wheels won't roll? Because an Alabama is a little too heavy, but it for my size, but it for my size. I'm going on the mountain just to see my baby, and I ain't coming back, no, I ain't coming back. Well, roll on, buddy, don't you roll so slow. Tell me how can I pull when the wheels won't roll? Roll on, buddy, I'll pull a load of coal. Tell me how can I pull when the wheels won't roll? It's a long way to Harlem, a short way to Hazard, and just to get a little room, just to get a little room. Now when I'm long gone, you can make my tombstone out of number 9 coal, make it out of number 9 coal. Roll on, buddy, don't you roll so slow. Tell me how can I pull when the wheels won't roll? Roll on, buddy, put a load of coal. Tell me how can I pull when the wheels won't roll? Choking. Cigarette, and we'll do one together. All right, it's only about a 2-minute tune. We appreciate your attention and your presence, and there's so much wonderful music in this thing. And eat healthy, and stretch often, and talk to God, enjoy life, look at nature, and that'll help guitar playing too.
Well, now I'm a fella with heart of gold, with ways of a gentleman, I've been told. Kind of a guy, wouldn't even harm a slave. But if meeting a certain character meant that old fella invented a cigarette, well, I'd know that son of a gun first degree. Now, it ain't because I don't smoke myself, or I don't reckon I can hinder my health. See, I've smoked them all my life, and I ain't dead yet. But nicotine slaves are all the same, whether petting party or a poker game. Everything's gotta stop while you have a cigarette. Smoke that cigarette. Puff, 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 if you smoke yourself to death. Tell St. Peter at the Birdie Gate, but you hate to make him wait. But you have to have another cigarette. You gave him a chance the other night. Old Dame Fortune was doing right. The kings and queens just kept on coming around. Well, I played him hard and I played him high, but it didn't work on this other guy. He just kept on raising, laying his money down. Well, now he'd raise me and I'd raise him. I was sweating blood, it was sink or swim, and finally he called and he didn't raise a bet. Said, "Ace is full, pal, how about you?" He said, "I'll tell you in a minute or two. Right now I believe I'll have me a cigarette." Smoke that cigarette. Puff, 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 if you smoke yourself to death. Tell St. Peter at the Birdie Gate, but you hate to make him wait. But you have to have another cigarette. Almost lost my thumb picks. I did, didn't I? Boy, you just gotta be careful. That's probably why I've never played Vincent in front of Sam. I thought, well, when I play it one time, you don't want that. I got a buzz too. We're gonna have this song sound right if we have to build Hoover Dam to do it. There we go. The other night, date with the prettiest girl in these 50 states. Real hybrid uptown fancy little thing. She said she loved me and it seemed to me that things are going the way they ought to be, so hand in hand we strolled down the lover's lane. She was also far from cake by ice and our kissing party was going right nice. If it hadn't been for old Sam Pacetti, I'd have been there yet. She gave me a kiss and a little squeeze and said, "Hey Walker, excuse me, but I believe I'll have me another cigarette." Smoke that cigarette. Puff, 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 if you smoke yourself dead. Tell St. Peter at the Birdie Gate, but you hate to make him wait. But you have to have another cigarette.